Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and
Rashid.
Here we are. We're back on the Nevcast.
Hey, it's the Nevcast. Oh, you just said that.
Are you trying to be exciting?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a nice shirt you got. The shirt's really nice and
Thanks,
exciting.
Peter.
Hey, Rashid, you out there?
Yeah, I'm out here, good buddy.
And so, what's your 20 today?
Man, I'm headed to the Woodlands. I thought I was going to Port Arthur, but they sending me to Arlington, Texas.
Arlington, Texas.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's a little bit longer of a drive.
Yeah, I know it's a whole lot. It's like 4 hours away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does your truck have like its own Wi-Fi signal that you travel with?
No. Why would
I don't think it got no. No, we don't have no Wi-Fi here.
It's just on the phone.
It's just you're just picking up like cell phone towers as you go through, as you're on the interstate.
Yeah. No. They don't get that good. Then they got them in some trucks, but not in this one. Not in this one right here.
No.
Do they even have that in a train?
Like on a train, like a passenger train.
Yeah, like a yeah.
Oh yeah, but they have it on an airplane. They have it on airplanes. They have to be able to have Wi-Fi on a train.
But do they? I don't know.
Ah, well, I mean, they need to modernize if they don't. But anyway, so here we are on the Nevcast, and today we're going to be talking about Psalm 19.
Yeah, Psalm 19. You think that is one of the most well-crafted Psalms
Absolutely.
in the whole book.
Well, okay. So first of all, it's hard to say that it's the most well-crafted psalm in the whole book because, quite frankly, just about all of them are masterwork geniuses as far as the way that they're crafted and put together.
Yeah. There's really a lot of untold stories that I don't know if we're ever going to know until eternity how they came about. On these Psalms.
Well, that's the cool
It's
thing.
amazing.
I mean, that's the cool thing about, the Bible when you get into it. It's the cool thing about God's voice, His Word, is that there are infinite new treasures to uncover out of it.
Yeah.
And, I remember somebody asked me one time, they were like, wow, you read the Bible every day. Like,
yeah.
I like Spider-Man comics, but I don't read them every day. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit more in the Bible than in like comics.
The Bible is the longest, the biggest religious book of any of the religions out there.
Yeah, and some people read the newspaper every day, or read the internet every day.
Yeah,
and they're constantly read social media every day.
But that's something new. The Bible is something that hasn't changed, right?
Right.
So, but you can't read it quickly in one helping. So,
no. But even something like Psalm 19, where you can read it quickly in one helping, you can keep reading it over and over and over again, and you keep discovering new stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because it's so. It's just so well done. So
why do you think it's such a well-crafted psalm? And I was just going to preview this morning and yesterday morning. I was reading Psalm 107, which I looked at and I was like, dang, actually, I didn't realize this psalm is crafted like a very like one of our songs today. It's got like 3 little verses, and then it ends each verse with the same way, kind of the same solution, almost like a chorus.
Yeah.
Right? That it could be a chorus. And then it's got the fourth story that's a little bit longer. It's like, oh, this is the climax, but then it also ends it and then ties the whole thing together like a current song. Now, Psalm 19 is not exactly like that, right? Would you say?
No.
But it's crafted in a different way that you think is awesome.
Well, I think that, so first of all, Psalm 19 is it basically has 3 sections.
3 sections.
And each of the 3 sections, if you took them in isolation, like if you took the first section and then you took the second section, you take the first verse from the first section and the first verse from the second section, and you line them up and you match them up, that'll tell you something more than if than if you just read them consecutively.
Yeah, cool.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
And so, like, if I take, let's say, as it says, I can't remember exactly which verse it is that starts the second section, but let's say it's verse 7. And you could take verse 1 and verse 7, and you line them up. So verse 1 is the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky proclaims his handiwork.
Now, that may be the most recognizable
Right.
Phrase from that particular psalm. Maybe the last one.
Right.
The first one and the last one probably the most recognizable.
So the second section begins with the law of the Lord is pure, converting or restoring the soul. And if you think of that, you take that and you can line it up with the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky proclaims his handiwork.
It's kind of a parallel.
Right? And then the God's glory, the law of the Lord, like basically his word is pure. It restores our soul. And then if you go to section 3 starts with, who can understand his errors? Cleanse me from hidden faults. So the law of the Lord is pure, restoring the soul. Who can understand his errors? Like, I'm not, if heaven's perfect, the law of the Lord is perfect. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. That's what it says. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. And then it says, who can understand his errors? I'm not perfect. But then it says, cleanse me from hidden faults. How? Right? And so you say, well, what if it's through your word and through my relationship with what you've created?
Yeah.
Okay, so those lines, that's just an example of the first one. So it starts off with the heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims his handiwork. Day into day reveals speech. Night into night utters knowledge. So it's basically saying all day long they are speaking to us. Every night you will learn something new if you just look at the sky and see what God's created there. And it's actually so incredible that it says that God actually named each star. Now, he entrusted the naming of animals to Adam, but he named the stars. And so he put a story there. Yeah. And it turns out that the zodiac, which people have turned into this personal horoscope thing, was actually originally, like, the names of the stars are mostly preserved in every culture, and the names of the stars are all pretty much the same in every culture.
Crazy.
And the stories, the ones that have been changed slightly, like especially with Greek horoscopes and stuff like that, well, those are actually very similar in every culture too. And so you've got the names of the stars and the stories that are in the stars. God's constantly speaking to us through the stories of the stars coming through. And that's right there in Psalm 19.
Well, and, way back in the way back, you had people telling stories to each other, but then you also, there's just no newspaper before books are written, all of that. The only thing to look up at night when it gets dark is these dots in the sky. So it's a perfect place when there's no other competition for the message, for there to be a message in what's up there every night.
And it says there's no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out throughout the earth. And says in it, he set a tabernacle for the sun.
What's a tabernacle?
That's a tent.
Oh, it's a tent.
He set a tent for the sun. Or basically, he made a house for the sun.
A house.
He made a place for the sun to be. And which is like a bridegroom rejoicing to come out of his chamber. Now, when a bridegroom rejoices to come out of his chambers, you know when that is?
Well, it's yes. I mean, I do, but what is it? Because it's a different kind of wedding ceremony than we're used to.
Yeah, right. So
what's his chamber?
In Hebrew wedding ceremonies, they would have the marriage, and after the marriage, the couple would go into a chamber. Mm-hmm. And they would spend about a week there, and the idea was that they were supposed to make a baby during that time. And so when the bridegroom comes out of the chamber, he's supposed to come out of the chamber going, "We made a baby." And so it's like he's saying the sun is that happy. The sun is literally happy to be on its course through the heavens and sharing its heat with all of us. Now, the interesting thing with that is that parallels exactly. If you line these verses up and how these come. It parallels exactly with the part where it says that God's word is more. After it says, "More to be desired are they than gold, yes, than much fine gold," and it parallels exactly with the part where it says, "And sweeter also than honey, even than the honeycomb." Now, I bet you it wasn't just a coincidence that he's paralleling all of these sections with each other. And he throws in a reference in one section about the son being as happy as a bridegroom coming out from the chamber where he's just made a baby with his wife. And then he's referencing that God's word is sweeter than honey, even than the honeycomb. Mm-hmm. I'm just guessing. And so what he's saying is our relationship with God's word needs to be intimate. Our relationship with God himself needs to be intimate, and
it'll create new life.
But this is around us. But this is the Old Testament. Did you know that the stars themselves, the story that the stars tell, actually foretells the coming of the Messiah?
Yeah.
If you look in the sky, you look at Orion. There's a constellation that's very near Orion, where the tail of the constellation is a stinger, and it's right next to Orion's heel.
Crazy, right?
That's Scorpio.
Yeah.
And then you know that, and then the Orion, the hunter, he's carrying the defeated foe in his arm. He's always pictured doing that because the Messiah was supposed to have his heel bruised, and then he was supposed to actually, triumph and defeat and crush his head. And the other
crushes the head of the Scorpio.
Crushes the head of the Scorpio, and the other foot of Orion is raised to crush while he's got the defeated foe over his shoulder.
Wow,
isn't that amazing? And so that's how it's always pictured. But the story's actually been told. It was there in Genesis before the Greek mythology and the Greek canonization of the zodiac happened actually
way after.
Yeah, it was a little bit before Christ, not too much. Right. But it's way after Genesis.
100 years or so, 150 years, something like that.
Yes, exactly.
The Hellenization of the.
And so that it's just, it's incredibly interesting to look at that. So that's it's setting you up. And it's saying, wait a second, this is in the Old Testament, in Psalm 19, which is doing all this cool stuff from a writing perspective, from a poetics perspective. But at the same time, it's also saying that the heavens don't just declare that God's perfect. He's declaring that God is actually going to come and he's going to redeem us and rescue us. And then his law is so desirable that he wants to be close and intimate with us. He doesn't want there to be anything separating us. And wait, I thought God was all about just the law in the Old Testament. And it's saying, no, it's not about the law. It's about getting close to him. And then it says, who can understand his errors? Cleanse me from hidden faults. Let them not have dominion over me. Keep me back also from presumptuous sins. And he says, then I will be innocent, blameless of great transgression. And then he comes with this final statement, which there's a surprise ending. He says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Yahovah, or Yahweh, or Lord, my rock and my Redeemer. Now, first of all, that word acceptable does not just mean like...
Is that a really good English translation of what the original Hebrew idea was in there?
No. Because the actual word is most often used for delightful, pleasurable. So may the words of my mouth and may the meditation of my heart
satisfy,
be pleasurable. I wrote a piece to this, and I said, put an everlasting smile on your face.
There you go.
Right? So I've entered in now to this relationship, according to Psalm 19, where I have the opportunity to make an impact on God's heart. And not only that, if you read that, God might say to you just directly, you're not just acceptable to me.
Yeah,
you are my delight.
Yeah.
You are my delight. You are the pleasure of my heart. Mm-hmm. I get so thrilled every time that you look at me, every time that you see me. And then it says, "O Lord, my rock and my Redeemer." And we hear Redeemer and we just go, okay, he's going to save us. But when they saw it, it was this word kinsman redeemer. And that was a person.
A little picture into another huge story.
This huge story. Picture. That's right. And the story was, let's say you've done something really wrong and you've got a brother. Let's say I've done something terrible and I've really, really messed up and I've made a mess of my life. Maybe I got totally addicted. I ruined everything in my life. And my brother then comes in and he says, hey, come here with me. We're going to get you cleaned up, sobered up. I'm going to stand in front of town and all the people that you've done wrong to, and all the money that you owe, I'm going to pay it. Every punishment that you need to serve, I'm going to serve it for you.
All the restitution you need to make.
And not only that, like, not only will you be at even, I'm going to say, this is my brother who is now restored to full family honor. And so if you treat him with anything less than that, then you have to deal with me. He is completely glorious again. He never did that at all. I've taken care of all of it. That's what the kinsman redeemer is. And so it says that
restorative
God,
justice.
that God is going to be that. And what's that a reference back to? It references back to the covenant that God made with Abraham.
Yes.
Where he said, you're going to walk through these pieces of the animals that we've split in two, and say that, may it happen to me like it happened to these animals if I ever break the covenant. And God goes, no. You can't go to sleep. You can't walk through those pieces because you couldn't handle that punishment. I'm going to walk through the pieces. So he fulfills both sides of the covenant. And what is God saying? He's saying that when you've broken the covenant, I'm going to pay. And he's saying it here again in Psalm 19. And you go, oh my goodness, no. It's too good. And that makes you go back and see, oh my goodness, look at God's glory. And all of creation, all of the stars, all of the heavens are proclaiming how God is like this. Yeah. He's not just glorious and magnificent. He's kind.
He's tender. It's not just limited to the planet. It's off planet. It's the universe.
Yes.
It's got this whole thing in it.
Yes. And that's his desire for all of us. It's his desire for his relationship to be with his creation. It's his desire for his relationship to be with his word. It says there's another psalm that says you have exalted your word above all your name. I believe that's Psalm 38 or Psalm 38. You have exalted your word above all your name, meaning he cares more about what he's promised you and fulfilling what he's promised you than he does what he looks like and how he comes across. And that's saying that again in Psalm 19.
It's like that proverb, blessed is the man who keeps an oath even to his own hurt.
Yeah, that's right. Blessed
that's
is the
not
man.
Just, that's cool if a guy did that. No, it's because God does that.
That's because God does that. Yeah, he made an oath to us, and he gets hurt by that oath to us all the time, and he keeps it because he loves us.
Yeah.
And his love is just mind-blowing. It's overflowing. So yes, I think Psalm 19 is pretty cool.
It is. Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
I wrote something to it.
Okay, so you get, So you need to it's time for our boy to...
Rashid, did you hear all that?
Yeah, I heard everything, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Have you ever heard Psalm 19 talked about like that before?
I heard some stuff you did on online about Psalm 19 on YouTube. I'm pretty familiar with it. I sort of remember a little bit of it. I know you did a couple of things on YouTube.
Yeah.
About Psalm, yeah.
A while ago, yeah, but you probably didn't know that about like the constellations and the stars and everything like that, because I just learned that recently. That's not in my book, that I wrote exposing the Psalms.
Okay, yeah. No, I never. I don't want to sit and lie and say I knew about it. No, I didn't know anything about it. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. I've just been learning this recently that if you study constellations, they'll lead you back to God too. It's like God's put his story everywhere, and it's like he's made us with his story. So anyway,
almost like it's inescapable.
That's right. So I want to perform this thing of Psalm 19, if that's okay. Is that cool?
Do it. Yeah. Let's hear this art.
Starry hosts, sunset hues, tapestry of heaven, woven with fingers that caress little babies and bend black holes to their will. It whispers behind jagged mountain peaks and still desert scenes, singing gospel choir get-downs and Asian string symphonies. The skies swarm with melodies eager to worship. Cymbals crash, waves rejoice. The crown of sun splashes horizons with fire, filling the earth with light, delighting to share its heat, reflecting God's perfect joy to mortal man. flawless laws, steadfast decrees, holy commands, purified truth from holy lips. God speaks. Our souls drip with warmth and love, wonder and awe, glorious splendor reborn, enlightened minds, sparkling eyes, carefree spirits. Oh, to kiss his sweet words forever. No treasures too precious to trade. No sacrifice too costly to surrender. Every sentence blankets safety and peace, restoring life endlessly. What man clothes himself like creation, whose thoughts radiate purely the words of God? Wash away all my flaws. Don't let me impose my own laws. Where no darkness hides, a clean conscience skips free, and light radiating holiness to the world. May every word I speak, the deepest thoughts I think, bring an everlasting smile to your face, author of all truth, singer of the starry host, God who endures my shame to call me his beloved.
Yeah. Now you just performed that at your kid's school, at my kid's school.
Yes, that's right, at chapel. And your daughter, she was really excited afterwards.
What did she do?
Well, she said that she was like, she came up to me. I was like, hey, did you guys like it? What she goes, next to you, every other chapel speaker is boring. And I was like, oh, thank you, Hattie. That is so sweet.
That's good. You should. I might have to talk to her to keep a little bit of that commentary inside. Don't tell the other speakers that.
Well, because you were one of the other speakers.
I have never been a speaker there, so I don't compete.
You haven't? I thought you were asked to speak at chapel.
I haven't.
Not yet?
We talked about it a few years ago.
Oh, but they said you couldn't because
they didn't say I couldn't.
Oh,
we just didn't pursue it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's I know, right? Let's not tell the other chapel speakers that. But it sure was a compliment. I was like, hey, I'm glad that you were into it. I did get the opportunity. I showed them how happy the sun was to run back and forth on the earth, and I ran up and down the aisles.
Right.
Doing that, so it was pretty fun. So
right, because some of that imagery, some of your wording may be a little challenging for some of the young students to really capture. But
I didn't share the stuff about the marriage and stuff like
but
that.
If you ran up and down and you act a little bit silly, boy, that re-engages them.
Oh, they were giddy. And I told them, I said, ask me if my son Pax is acceptable to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I said, oh, he's more than acceptable. He's the delight of my heart. And I ran up and I grabbed him and I hugged him. I said, this is my son, Pax. He's amazing. He's so exciting. He's so wonderful. And I said, and look, there's my other son, Kaz. And there's my wife, Vicky, and my daughter, Goldie. They are the delights of my heart. I will celebrate them forever. That's how God thinks about you.
Yeah.
That's how God thinks about you.
He drew me up from a deep pit because he delighted in me.
Because he delights in you. And it's written everywhere. And every time you look at the stars, every time you look at nature, every time you hear any part of the Bible, every time you hear him whisper his word to you, remember, it's because he delights in you. It's because he is incredibly pleased with you. He can't stop himself from loving you. We say it a lot, but I don't think we can ever say it enough. Because it is that good. So
such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain.
So there we go. That's how we did it. Thanks for joining us on the Nevcast.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you next time.
Art in Pursuit of Christ.
That's right. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.